Trước khi bắt đầu, nếu bạn đang tìm kiếm sách để học IELTS hiệu quả, thì đây là những cuốn sách chúng mình khuyên dùng. Bạn hãy xem ở phần giỏ hàng trong kênh nhé.
Section 1. You will hear a telephone conversation between a musician and a man working in a music agency.
Hello, Music Alive. How can I help you?
Hi, I've just moved to the area and I saw your advert. I wanted to find out about your services.
Sure. What would you like to know?
Well, I've got a number of questions if that's okay. Have you got a few minutes?
Of course.
Can I make a note of your name?
Yes, I'm Jim. Jim Granley.
Thanks. And do you represent every type of musician? Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, we're basically a networking agency for musicians, but we don't actually find you work. We have all our members on our database, the type of music they play, and also we can put people in touch if they want to form a band, for example.
Is there a lot of live music here?
Yes, and venues contact us when they need musicians, etc. We deal with modern music, especially rock, which is what most people seem to enjoy around here. But we do also represent some jazz musicians. We don't accept classical music, I'm afraid.
No, that's fine.
What do you play?
Guitar and violin, and a bit of flute. As I'm new here, I thought you could help me get in touch with people.
I see. Sure. We actually have a newsletter I could send you that would give you a good idea of what we do and how you can benefit from joining. The latest one came out this week. Would you like me to send you a copy?
That would be great. Is it weekly?
No, every month. Weekly would be too much work, I think.
Right. And what are the costs for joining and becoming a member? Is it expensive? I'm on a tight budget.
You and every other musician in the region. No, we do everything to keep costs down because we know what it's like. We're pretty much all musicians ourselves too. So to join is just £35, and that's a one-off payment. Oh, actually, that's the discounted rate for young musicians under 18s. The standard rate is £45.
Unfortunately, I'm over 18. And how about joining? Can I join when I want? Now, for example? Or do you have a limit on numbers?
No, you can join any time. We don't have a limit on the numbers of members we can have. The more the merrier, in fact. Our membership's gone up recently from 700 to 750.
That's good. And your ad says you also have facilities there that musicians can use. Can you explain a bit about that?
Sure. Well, it's not huge, but we do have a couple of rooms where you can rehearse. They're soundproof. And we've just opened a studio, a small one. And it's already proving popular with bands that want to send demo tapes to venues and record labels.
Wow, that sounds brilliant. And is that free? Guess not.
No, that's extra. But we do have some free services. For example, we can offer legal advice if you need it, for contracts and things like that. Pretty useful stuff, you know.
Great. So if I'm interested, what's the next step? How do I become a member?
Well, simple really. Just send us a letter with your contact details and a recording made within the last couple of months. That'll give other members an idea of what you play.
And where are you based?
We're at 707 Kippax Street, Marbury.
How do you spell Kippax?
It's Kippax.
And is there an email address?
Yes, it's music.talent@bsu.co.uk.
Talent as in the word?
Yes.
Right. Just one last thing.
Section 2. You will hear a tour guide talking to some tourists who are going on a walking holiday in Spain.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Gary Payne, and I'll be the leader for your walking holiday in Spain. And the purpose of this evening's meeting is for us all to get to know each other in advance and for you to ask any questions you may have about the holiday. So I'll begin by telling you a little bit about what to expect. Now, the ferry crossing from England to Santander in Spain takes about 24 hours. We'll be sailing on the Prince Regent, which was first launched in the 1980s. As well as the crew of 160, it can accommodate about 2,000 people and 600 cars, and it sails at an average speed of 37 kilometres an hour. There'll be an onboard map on one of the decks which charts the ship's progress during the voyage. Although our minibus will be on one of the vehicle decks in the boat, access to these decks is prohibited during the crossing, so when you leave our bus, you'll have to take everything that you're likely to need with you, like toiletries or books and magazines. In fact, it's probably a good idea to put these things in a separate bag beforehand. You shouldn't need snacks on board as meals are provided and they're quite substantial. And if you don't feel well or get a headache, you can get tablets from me. I always carry an adequate supply. Now, once we're in Spain, we'll be based at a hostel in a small village called La Vega de Libana, about 120 kilometres from Santander. It's a very picturesque area that's retained a lot of its traditional industry and culture. The hostel accommodation's fairly simple. There are bunk beds and each room holds 4 to 8 people. But the bathrooms and showers are of a high standard. The hostel residents have the use of tennis courts nearby, if you feel like a game. We'll be given breakfast and an evening meal at the hostel. In general, the hostel is relaxed, but there are a few rules which the owners enforce strictly. Smoking is not allowed anywhere inside the building, and food and drink is banned in the dormitories. Any chairs or tables which you take outside into the gardens must be returned every evening to their original place. And finally, the doors are locked after midnight out of consideration for other guests who are trying to sleep. Now that's enough about travel and accommodation. But before I move on, I should say something briefly about equipment. There's a list in the guidebook you've been sent, but I'll just elaborate on 1 or 2 items. First, boots. Make sure that the ones you bring have thick soles. That's the most important thing. Don't bring trainers for walking in. Apart from anything else, they're dangerous because they slip. It's important to bring spare socks. Then, about waterproofs. I'd strongly advise you not to come with anything heavy, with a thick lining. The ideal things are those lightweight ones, because they fold up small, and although they do keep the wind out, they don't make you too hot. Right? Next, sun cream. This is absolutely essential. And regarding the strength, make sure you get what's known as total block. Even factor 25 isn't good enough for those latitudes in July. Then, let's see. Bring a folder to keep your map and other papers in, one of those plastic ones. It's not very likely to rain, but if it does, you'll find it soaks everything. So, that's the practicalities over. Now let me tell you a little bit about the area in Spain where we'll be walking. The Picos de Europa. It's a very popular area for tourists because of its spectacular peaks. Although they're only 25 kilometres from the sea, the highest peaks are more than 2,600 metres high and have year-round snow caps. On the highest peaks, you've got alpine plants that are only free of their snow cover for a few months a year. Then you've got meadows that are full of wild flowers at certain times of the year. Then the northern slopes are covered by woodlands, giving homes to rare species such as wolves and bears. And because of the variety of plant life, which survives in that part of Europe due to the traditional way of life there,
Section 3. You will hear 2 sports physiotherapy students called John and Kath preparing a joint presentation on foot injuries in sports players.
I've had a look at your draft presentation plan and compared it with mine, Kath, and we seem to have the same basic structure. We've both included the same 3 main sections, that's the anatomy of the foot, the injuries and the treatment, and we've organised our presentations in the same way. But the types of sports we've chosen to illustrate the possible injuries aren't the same.
I'll deal with the anatomy bit. I've got notes and a handout on that from Professor Gilligan's lecture.
Oh, I was hoping to do that. I've downloaded some useful stuff. I do think we should limit this section, though. We don't want to spend much time on anatomy when the main focus is on the treatment.
That's true, but in the last section, maybe the two of us could show how some of these therapies actually work. I could be the patient and you could do the treatment.
Good idea, because it's hard to find pictures as injuries are mostly internal. It would be good to hear some first-hand accounts from injured athletes too.
Yeah, but we don't have time.
No. Should we then discuss different types of heel injury? It's worth pointing out that these vary enormously in how bad they are. It might be just a pulled muscle, or a bone injury which needs surgery. Sometimes only an expert can tell the difference.
Excellent. I'll do the slides on that. Leave that one to me.
Now, what about causes of heel injuries?
Well, it's easy enough to list them. Overuse, improper footwear.
Yes, incorrect running style.
They're all relevant, but for simplicity, let's just pick one cause. Say, stuff about changing your training habits suddenly.
You mean like suddenly doing a lot of mountain training? Yes, that's a good idea. And there was research on that in the latest edition of Physio Journal, wasn't there? Professor Gilligan recommended it to us.
Great. You can leave the bit on stretching techniques to me. I really like all that stuff.
So, what's going to be your approach there?
Well, I'll summarise all the various techniques with visual support, and then I'll make the point that the stretching should be carefully managed. Obviously, you have to be careful not to overstretch and to stretch only when your muscles are warmed up. Otherwise, you could do yourself more harm than good. It's also important that on a supervised programme, stretching is later on combined with balance exercises, which stretch and also strengthen the muscles.
OK then. It's always useful to have some information on case studies at the end, in case we're short of material. Did you manage to find anything?
Yes, a female runner in her 30s talking about her treatment for a swollen heel. Initially, she rested the injury. This did help to reduce the swelling, although it was still a little bit uncomfortable. Then she applied an ice pack to the injury twice a day.
Did that work?
Well, she persisted with this treatment for the first month, but decided it wasn't helping. After this period, she was shown how to use deep tissue massage techniques and was surprised at how much freedom of movement this created in her foot.
Wasn't she having ultrasound treatment?
Yes, she was having sessions at the hospital, but she remained unconvinced about its value. She felt the same about the balancing exercises she was prescribed.
OK, that's interesting. I looked at the aftercare programme of a male sprinter who was allowed to do some sports activity as part of his rehabilitation. After 4 months of treatment, he did some light running on grass, wearing shoes that gave plenty of support to his injured heel.
So it didn't hurt?
Well, he found the heel was sore afterwards, and the same happened with some jumping exercises he was asked to try.
Did he go to the gym and use weights?
Yes, after a few weeks. And if he used light weights, he could train without pain. He also tried cycling and found this beneficial, as his foot was not making contact with the ground. He expected a similar result with swimming, but found the repetitive kicking motion was actually aggravating the injury.
Well, both these case studies have value.
Section 4. You will hear a tutor talking to a group of students about a project to build a driverless vehicle.
Hello, everyone. I have an exciting announcement to make. The university has decided to enter an international competition next year, and we are going to need some enthusiastic undergraduates to help us with the project. The competition is to make an automated vehicle a kind of robot that will be able to move quickly and accurately on its own. All the vehicles will then enter a race which will take place here in the U.S. So the engineering school will be collaborating with the computer science department and possibly the automotive design department, although that's yet to be confirmed. What they have to do is try to design an automated vehicle which will be able to complete the course. To give you an idea of how tough this race is, one vehicle last year only managed 12 kilometers of the 280-kilometer stretch of California desert that forms the racetrack. The vehicles in the race must cover the whole distance without a human driver and, quite autonomously, identify and steer around corners and avoid unexpected hazards, things like rocks, for example. It's a challenging task because there are lots of obstacles of this kind along the route. As I said, in last year's event, the most successful vehicle only drove 12 kilometers. Then its team decided to deactivate it because it had gotten too near a cliff. In the race held earlier this year, there still wasn't a winner, but they did much better, and there was one design which we will be analyzing carefully in seminars. Its strength was in its onboard technology. That particular vehicle built a three-dimensional picture of its surroundings using video cameras and lasers. It was equipped with 7 laptop computers, which analyzed the incoming information 10 times a second. And it drove along at a comfortable 55 kilometers per hour. The design details have been published, so we hope to learn from them and go on to make ours even better for next year's competition. The competition is open to all universities, and there's a prize of $2 million for the winner. But it's really about more than that. The sponsors are hoping to see innovative design ideas that they can transfer into commercial production. You'll get a lot out of this project as well in terms of working as a team and broadening your knowledge of the subject. The key to winning is unlikely to be anything to do with what the vehicle looks like. Programming skills will decide who eventually wins first prize. The design will need technological expertise in this area above all, and that's what the team who work on the project will need to focus on. I'll be handing out some scientific reports about this year's vehicle shortly. It's interesting to read that even after months and months of planning, building, and trials, many of the teams were amazed that the vehicles did what they wanted them to do at all, because so many things can go wrong on the day. So even though no vehicle actually completed the course, they were pleased they got as far as they did. Right. If any of you are interested, this is the plan of action. Keep an eye on the main notice board for details. Firstly, at the beginning of May, we'll be scheduling a seminar to introduce the project to anyone who might be interested. Later in the month, we'll be asking you to submit a short essay, letting us know why you feel you should be chosen to take part in the project. You'll need to tell us about any particular skills that you have and can bring to the team, and any experience you may have had in the field. Then, in June, we're organizing a trip to a factory to chat over some design considerations with specialists there who have kindly agreed to act as consultants throughout the project. Then, at the beginning of the next semester in September, we thought we'd hold a weekend workshop to share ideas and see computer-aided design demonstrations. We have a brand new package which sponsors have kindly financed. You'll need to be able to use it with confidence before we start. In December, we'll be asking you to submit your outline designs, and the following month, we'll choose the team and start work in earnest. Okay, it sounds like a lot of fun, but it will also require serious commitment. So please think this through carefully. Some handouts are coming around now. Any questions?